Welcome to DOC NYC's Spring Showcase. I'm Thom Powers, the festival's artistic director. I'm pleased to host this conversation about the Showtime series Couples Therapy, now in its second season. I'm joined by the filmmakers Josh Kriegman, Kim Roberts, and Elyse Steinberg, and the therapist who needs no introduction if you've seen the show, Dr. Orna Guralnik. Orna, let me start with you. This is the second season. When this series was first getting started, I'm curious what you were most concerned about going into it.
First of all, hello, thank you. I was most concerned with, first of all, meeting new couples and what's it going to be like? And am I going to be able to repeat the kind of work or deepen the work I did in the first season? And the concerns that an analyst or a therapist has when they're meeting a new client, which is, am I going to be able to do the work well?
And when you watch season 2, if you have watched yourself in the show, what stands out to you?
The first thing that stands out to me, probably as it does with most people watching it, is that we had actually no idea what's coming. That we started kind of in this innocent way. We thought we're just kind of doing another season of something that we learned how to do the first time around, but we had no idea that we're about to hit like a world pandemic that's going to change everything, that's going to just change everything about what people are dealing with and how we're trying to film it. So that's the first thing that strikes me. But then there's something about the second season that I've talked to the directors about quite a lot, which is that I find that somehow we've all, but I think it's especially the filmmakers, have managed to kind of go much deeper into the subject matter in the second season and get like a lot closer to each of the characters and to the process. So I think the series itself is developing and deepening.
Well, I want to talk about that. Elyse, let me first ask you about how these couples are recruited. So in season 2, we follow 3 couples, the same 3 couples, over 9 episodes, over 20 or so weeks, as I understand it, of undergoing therapy and see all 3 couples evolve over those 9 episodes. But talk to me about the process of finding those couples willing to put their lives on screen in the first place.
Yeah, well, I think, in the first season, it was a big question about who we were going to get, how were we going to find them. And for the second season, we applied some of the things that we learned, which was, we did there's a lot of like boots on the ground, posting on social media and intensive outreach everywhere, getting social media influencers to post, just doing an incredible outreach. And then, what we're looking for are real people in real crisis. Like, us, we're documentary filmmakers. And so we're approaching this as documentarians. So we're looking for people who genuinely want therapy, who are open to being filmed, are self-aware. The same thing that you look for, in our verite, feature work. We're looking for that. And the other thing we were looking for is people that I think, going into this, there was a bit of a wanting to, share the experiences that you have and the struggles that you have in a way to sort of help others who might be going through similar struggles. So I think some of the people who took part in this, they were, there was a hope that they would be able to like have people connect, be less alone, destigmatize some of their issues. So there's a mission component, I think, to some of the people that took part in it, and that we looked for as well.
Josh, can you explain to us how the series is filmed? You're covering this room from multiple angles, yet we never see any cameras in it, which is truly impressive. Nor do we see like a lot of hidden mirrors or anything. So explain how that works.
Yeah, so I mean, one of the things we knew going in, I mean, when we created this series, we on some level was this wild experiment, and the question at the core of it was, is it possible to actually capture what's so extraordinary about therapy while not ruining it by filming it? You know, can people actually show up and be authentic and real and vulnerable in the way that they are in real therapy, knowing the entire time that they're being filmed? And one of the crucial components of that we felt from the very start was we had to create a space where, of course, everyone knows they're being filmed, but you don't feel it. And so in order to do that, we built an office where we could conceal cameras behind basically angled mirrors that are designed in such a way that they are integrated into the set, and you don't feel it. So you obviously don't feel it on the show in terms of what the camera captures, but you also don't feel it in the room. And that was really, really important. We had brilliant set designers and cinematographers help us sort of set all that up. And so the experience for the couple is, you know, they show up, they actually walk straight into the waiting room off the street. There's no like production, you know, back where they're sort of being held in a way that they can really be exposed to the production. They walk straight into the waiting room, they sit, they go into a session, they do a session, they leave, and they never once see a camera or really any element of production, other than, you know, somebody putting a lavalier microphone on them at the very beginning, and that's it. And that is, I think, a really just a critical component of how the series works in terms of enabling folks to show up and be real, which is what makes it, I think, pretty extraordinary.
Kim, Orna referred to a big part of season 2 being impacted by the pandemic, and you know, some of the ways that must have impacted production are obvious to us. We watch sessions move to an online format for a period before they move back into the office. But can you talk about some of the ways that the shifting in the pandemic affected your production in ways that might not be obvious on screen?
Yeah, it was about, we'd gone through about 3 in-person sessions when New York went into lockdown. And as I'm sure everyone will recall, there was no idea in the beginning how long it would last. And so we didn't know if we were just doing triage and kind of keeping some therapy going until the real therapy back in the office could begin, or whether it was going to be usable at all. So we sent a package to each of the couples with a microphone, a webcam. We talked them through how to set up an Ethernet cable, and then they basically recorded themselves with Orna. And what we found really quickly, which was very exciting as documentarians, is that, of course, in lockdown, couples' issues just get enhanced. And this was an incredible moment in time to be a part of, and to be able to be embedded with couples beforehand and then through the process of lockdown was, for us, an incredible journey. And I'm sure you can't tell this, but the technology starts to get a little bit better as we get along. We're all learning the same things, the same lessons together. So we eventually figured out a way to send somebody in to help people set up their equipment, that sort of thing. But it was really kind of thrilling to be able to be let into that journey with the couples at this historic moment in time.
Orna, when we watch any TV show, there's a process of editing and compacting time, and I think when anyone sees their work reflected on a TV show, whether you're a lawyer or a doctor or work in publishing, you're very conscious of what's left out of the dramatic moments that are condensed for television. So I'm curious, how is the show couples therapy different from actual couples therapy in your view?
That's a great question. I'm actually going to start off by saying kind of the opposite, which is what has been stunning for me, both the first time around, kind of watching what the filmmakers have made of all this footage, and then the second time around. What's stunning to me is how close what I see on the screen is to what I think is actually happening in the treatment, which I think is a testament to the filmmakers and to our connection. I've repeatedly been kind of moved and deeply impressed by the fact that I feel like what they've done with the way they've edited and put it on film, and also the camera work, how much it comes close to how I understand the actual analytic therapeutic process and what really happens, like the real thread that happens in the treatment. So what's really stunning to me is how close it is to how I experience the process. What's different, of course, is that all the steps that you see take more time than it looks like. So in the actual therapeutic process, there are a lot of dead moments or seemingly dead moments where there isn't a lot happening. I mean, there is actually a lot happening, but it's under the surface. It's kind of brewing. So, and the tension and subtleties and actually difficulty of sitting through that is not there. You know, long, awkward silences, or a feeling that you're kind of regressing and going backwards and what's happening, nothing's happening. And then like 2 weeks later, suddenly, oh, things were just brewing. So that's different. I think those are the main things to say about that.
Josh or Kim or Elyse, whoever wants to take this question. You know, Josh referred earlier to the way people on the production stay out of the way of the clients who are in therapy. But you know, we see in this program that you're doing some filming of them in their homes, and maybe that's all remote, but some of it looks like a crew is there. I wonder to what extent, you know, anyone on your crew does have connections throughout the, you know, several months of filming with the subjects, and what those conversations are like.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, we do spend time. You're right. I mean, there is some verite shooting, which is sort of classic fly on the wall, sort of stay out of the way and try to capture a slice. In the show, it's really kind of slice of life footage. We're not, anyone who's seen the show knows, we're not looking to capture like actual events unfolding. It's impressionistic and visual, and really trying to paint a picture of giving people a sense of what the couple's lives look like outside of where the action is happening, which is in the therapist's office. And so we are doing a little bit of that kind of filming, and using that throughout. So yeah, we do spend some time with the couples, and I think, I mean, the connection of the couples is pretty remarkable. I mean, there are folks, you know, obviously there's not a lot of interaction with the couples because folks are behind concealed mirrors. But the resonance of what the couples are going through for us and for the crew is really extraordinary. And I think in many ways it mirrors some of the feedback we've been getting from audience members, from people who have come to us and said, really thank you, or different variations on, you know, just how impactful watching these stories be shared is on people's lives directly. And we felt that, you know, personally, I think we all feel that. And then also the crew as well feels that in the course of spending this much time in this kind of an intimate setting. It's really intense. And I think it really resonates for a lot of different people in some pretty profound ways.
Well, I do want to add that I think, you know, it's true. The couples go in and, you know, we're just capturing that moment, but we are talking to them and touching base with them. And I think, you know, for this season, Josh did a lot of that, you know, making sure, you know, checking in with them every time they came in, having discussions. So there is a relationship that forms that is really important. And I think it's something that the whole crew who takes part in it, we do talk about how, you know, people are coming in and this is an act of courage, and this is a gift that they're giving us, their stories. And we feel this like honor of bearing witness that just pervades everywhere. But we take care to keep a relationship with them.
And I just want to add something here that I also, as the therapist, I do feel like there's some, it's almost the way an inpatient unit feels, that like everyone is in it together to take care of these people. So I feel very supported in the work. So.
Well,
Yeah.
Orna, I want to ask you about support and vulnerability. I think when you watch the series as a viewer, we're all aware of how vulnerable the clients are making themselves. But I also want to draw attention to the degree to which you're making yourself vulnerable, putting yourself on TV. You're opening up yourself to the scrutiny of all your peers who may watch this and feel like, oh, that's not how I would have handled that moment. I mean, can you talk about your own sense of putting your work on TV?
Yes, sure. From the beginning of the project, I'm an academic. I mean, that's really what I do. I treat and I teach and I write. So for me, this is like an extension of the academic work that I and my colleagues do in a way to share this way of thinking with a wider audience. And I'm not only speaking for myself, I mean, the school of work that I belong to, I mean, we do believe in our own vulnerability to be a very important part of the process, and in a way sharing that, not burdening people with it, but making it part of the process. So it was important for me that the role of the analyst is open and accessible to whoever's watching it, that my process is part of the process. Not because it's about me, but because it's part of the process of doing the work of therapy. So yeah, when you work with patients, you are in a very vulnerable place. You're working with yourself. And it's important that people know that and know what it's like. And my colleagues were first, people that originally heard about it were very worried and skeptical. Is this going to be like another condemning way of portraying analysts as, narcissists that all they want to do is like basically consume their patients? Or is this going to be closer to the way we all work? And luckily, I feel like my colleagues are very reassured by what's out there and feel represented. I mean, it's not like everyone would do exactly what I do, but generally, I think it's a real representation of what the work is actually like. So people feel very good about it.
I want you to talk about, bring yourself into the room, and one of the things that you're bringing to that job, as we see in the show, is your own experience. And, we can imagine how, each couple poses their own challenge, their own set of personalities. And the more you do this work, the more examples you have to draw from. And it made me wonder, how different your work is today with years of experience than when you started.
Generally, as a therapist, as a couples therapist?
Yes, as a couples therapist.
That's a great question. Yeah, it's different in the sense that I do have enough examples to draw on and kind of to know, maybe to know better what's important to focus on and what to let slide, and when to say to people, that's not going to change, so just give it up, or that's not a battle worth fighting for, or this is where you should really put your efforts. And so I have a little bit of that sensibility. I hope that I'm not jaded, but I don't know, maybe I am, maybe a little sometimes less sensitive to what I was earlier in my professional work. I think about that sometimes. Am I kind of not picking up on nuances that I would be more tuned into? Yeah.
To the filmmakers, I want to ask about the three couples who we watch over the course of season 2, and what was the experience like sharing the finished project with them?
Kim, do you want to talk about the couples?
I can talk a little bit about the couples, and then maybe you can talk about sharing it.
Sure.
I mean, the process, I worked closely with the edit team. And so we go through a process of arcing out their entire therapy for each couple first before we go into creating episodes, and try to, as Orna pointed out, we try to really follow the arc of what they're doing. Obviously cutting out the boring bits, but and we're also very excited in the process about transformation, about allowing people in one episode. You know, sometimes people you might react badly to somebody in one episode, but then, you know, a few episodes later, when they're deeper into therapy, you understand why they are who they are, and suddenly you're empathetic. And that's really exciting to be able to do that in documentary. That's something that the series allows you to do that you don't always have the chance to do in feature docs. And I, Josh, you want to talk about how they responded?
Yeah. So, I mean, naturally, as you can imagine, everyone is somewhat nervous about kind of what it all looks like in the end.
That's got to be an understatement.
Yeah, to varying degrees. I mean, it's interesting, you know, with season 2 couples, at least they had season 1 they knew what the thing looks like, right? Like the season 1 couples had no idea. It was a truly remarkable leap of faith, and a very brave and courageous and generous one. And still in season 2, I think it is brave and generous because they obviously don't know how it's all gonna come together and how, you know, how the story will be shaped. And they all have felt incredibly positive about sort of the end result. I mean, they all are exceptionally happy to have worked with Orna to begin with. I mean, the actual therapy itself has been, I think, truly transformative for everyone in a way that is kind of remarkable. I mean, it is remarkable to behold. That's what the show is about. And then in terms of reacting to the show, everyone has really expressed an appreciation for how it does capture. Obviously, it's really abbreviated, and I think that can be challenging to sort of recognize all the pieces that are missing. But it does manage, you know, the couples have expressed that it does manage to capture kind of the essence of what they went through, or a piece of what they worked on that is really authentic and really true to the actual experience of what it was like in the room. And then the final piece, which is really, really intense and profound, is the sort of the love that comes from the world in sort of is really kind of remarkable. And we've seen now through season 1 and season 2, it's very reliable. Like the couples who do this experience and put their stories out there in this way, it's incredibly vulnerable and scary. But what they receive by and large is just a tremendous amount of love and support and appreciation for how their story has in fact impacted and helped others. And that is, I just think, a really extraordinary experience that is, that's, you know, it's surreal, I think, to be out there in this way for them. But I do think it's really very positive.
Orna, as we wrap this up, I mean, one way that this therapy is different than perhaps non-TV therapy is that you're working with a set number of weeks. So, you know, there is a session where the couples know that it's going to be their last session, as we see in the 9th episode, and I wonder how that shape, that you know, finite number of sessions has affected the process.
Yeah, it's interesting because typically I do this kind of timeless psychoanalytic work where we kind of ignore the limits of time and we pretend there's no death. But there is such a thing as short-term therapy, where in advance you set a certain number of sessions, which is what I've been doing in this case. And people talk a lot. I mean, there are people like Davin Liu and other people that do short-term psychodynamic work. And they talk about how, in a way, the entire work is geared towards working on issues that have to do with endings and separation. So in a way, the fact that there's an end it puts a certain engine on the treatment from the very beginning. And I know that the first time around when we reached, I think it was week 12, we were all noticing that something odd is happening and the treatment is beginning to kind of find its own ending. So there's some way that it affects the work by condensing it and intensifying it. And all of us are to some degree aware of the fact that there's an end coming. It's interesting. It changes the work. It makes it faster. It puts it on steroids. It probably keeps certain things out. It's interesting. It's definitely different.
One thing that we haven't talked about that's striking to me about this show is the work that Orna's eyebrows are doing in the show. And I feel you can't really see it when she's wearing glasses right now, but I haven't noticed an eyebrow stylist in the credits of the show, but it probably deserves one.
There's no styling. It's pure, authentic Orna.
It's genetic. The stylist is my genes.
Well, I want to thank you all for taking time today to talk about this show. Truly enjoyed it, and I hope audiences get to see more. And can we expect a third season?
We're hoping. We're hopeful.
All right, very good. Well, Dr. Orna Guralnik and Kim Roberts, Josh Kriegman, Elyse Steinberg, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Thom.
Thank you.
Thank you, Thom.